Hello everyone, my name is Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought it'd be really cool to tell you all about some of the queer books that I read during Pride Month. Am I a little late for this considering this will probably go up mid-July? Maybe. Does it really matter? No. And do I care? Definitely not. So I have 5 books that I read this month that are somehow queer, and I'm just gonna go through them in the order that I read them, basically. So the first book that I read was She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and Alison Derrick. So this book is about Alex and Molly, who are pretty much opposites in their personality, and then they meet because they're going to college, and then Molly has this crush on a girl who Alex meets, and then Alex basically decides to help her try to get this girl, but she's doing it because she wants to prove to her ex-girlfriend that, like, she's a good person. So the best thing to know about this book is, first of all, it is obviously sapphic, and I will eat up anything sapphic. Second of all, it is based off the real-life story of the 2 authors in the book. Like, how crazy is that? That is just so good. So, honestly, I just absolutely loved this. This was, like, such a solid 4 stars for me. So I did get the audiobook for this, and there are 2 narrators, which is really nice because I felt like it really amplified the experience for me, and it just made me love the book all the more. There was honestly just, like, a ton of cute moments, and there's a lot of friendship in here still, even though it's a romance, which is just really nice because female friendships are important. My only real criticism with this book is that I feel like I saw it advertised as enemies to lovers kind of thing, when it's really more of like a rivals for a couple minutes to like friends to lovers kind of book. Even then, just because it's sapphic, I literally don't care. Like, I'm gonna read it. I don't care. And it's funny because since Alex and Molly are so different, I honestly feel like you were either an Alex or Molly, and I have to say I am definitely a Molly, and I will not elaborate on that at all. But yeah, overall, this was just like a really fun and cute book. I really loved it, and I really loved that the characters were like in college young adult instead of like middle school young adult, you know, just to change things up and make it feel like a little more realistic at times. But yeah, just overall, really love this. So the next book that I read is The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes. And this book is about Yami, who is a 16-year-old queer Mexican-American girl who just got put into a Catholic school because at her old school, her best friend actually outed her. And so now at this school, she is trying to absolutely keep it a secret, especially because it's Catholic school. And she even goes as far to try to convince herself that she's not queer, which we all know is not gonna work. And she meets this girl, Bo, who is at the school and is openly queer, and that is kind of where things continue. So this is another one that I really loved. Another like nice solid 4-star read. So I think one of the best things that this book does is it balances really well the bad things and the good things. So Yami and even like her friends and family go through a ton of hardships, but it is really rewarded with happy endings and even some funny moments. And each character that does go through those hardships has a really amazing support system. I will say, definitely check the trigger warnings for this one, because while it is a nice cute YA rom-com, it does also tackle a lot of really heavy topics such as like racism and homophobia and even suicide. So please check them, and you know, even if you want to read it and you can't, that's okay. I also loved being able to relate to the character in certain ways, but I was also able to learn about things that don't necessarily affect me. So like in the ways I can relate to her, it was things like being queer in a Catholic school and trying to convince yourself that you're not, and even being scared to come out and scared of what's gonna happen. So like all the things like that, but also I obviously don't face things like racism. So it was also really important for me to be able to see, and why I love reading diversely, because there's just certain things in life you're just not going to experience, and by doing it like through these characters you get a better understanding for it and even more empathy. So that aspect of the story, it was really important to me that like I paid attention to it and made sure that like I also learned something from it while also still being able to enjoy the story through other aspects. And I love that basically every character gets their own happy ending in a way, and it's so important to show that because it says that like no matter who you are able to get a happy ending, and you deserve that happy ending essentially. So that was another thing that I really loved about this book. So next I read How You Doing by Leslie Jordan. So this is basically just Leslie Jordan kind of telling some of these like really funny stories from his life. So I did get the audiobook for this, and he does narrate it, so that is just like really awesome. And I actually did read this for a reading vlog, so you will see that in like a couple weeks maybe. But honestly, there's just not much to say about this because it was just like really really fun and enjoyable, and listening to the audiobook honestly just like really amplified the experience for me as well, because you get to hear it in his voice, and it even just made me laugh honestly for like 2 hours straight. I just really, really loved it. The next book that I read was Wilder Girls by Rory Power, and this is essentially about these girls who are at this school, but they get trapped there because they get infected by this disease called the tox. And what the tox does is basically make them have these deformations to their body. So the main character loses her eye, and one of the other girls has like claws and stuff, like really weird body horror kind of stuff. So they're essentially just like waiting for a cure that might not ever come, and they're cut off from the rest of life and society. But one of the girls goes missing, and then the main character has to step up and try to figure out what happened to her. So, this book. It was okay. I gave it like 3 stars. It might even possibly be a 2.5, but I need to let it sit for a bit. But it's about like a 3 stars. So I have a lot of issues with this book. There are aspects that I like. However, like, I disliked most of it. The first one is I started to read the physical copy, but something about the language from the author was just like really off. It almost felt like she was trying really hard to have like a different kind of writing style. It almost felt like some of the sentences were like incomplete kind of thing. So I listened to the audiobook, and I do have to say that was a much better experience. If I hadn't listened to the audiobook, this would probably be like a solid 2-star, but the audiobook narrators were really good. There's 2 of them because there's 2 separate character point of views. They helped amplify the experience a bit, but I definitely just did not vibe with the writing. Like I said, it really felt like she was almost trying to just like have good writing as opposed to worrying about the story. I hate to say that, but like, also, a lot of the characters kind of fell flat for me. I didn't really feel anything for a lot of them. And I don't want to say I didn't feel connected to all of them, because you don't have to feel connected to a character to enjoy them. But I almost just didn't really care. It was kind of like, I know why we're here, but like, why are we here, you know? And maybe this is just because it's young adult, but I felt like there was a really big missed opportunity to really emphasize the body horror. It was in there a bit, but everything that was felt like a little lackluster, and I felt like it, even though it is YA, it could be like a lot more gruesome and a lot more detailed. I felt like it was just leaving something to be desired, basically. And so what I really did like was a lot of towards the ending. However, when you get to the actual ending, it's kind of like, that's it. It feels like there needs to be at least another 50 pages after the ending for it to feel like a complete story. It feels like there's just a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up, but like almost not enough for another book. So I have to assume that this is the only book that we'll be getting of this storyline, essentially. Even like if there's gonna be another book, I feel like it would be the beginning of it, or like the creation of the disease or something, because anything else, it just doesn't really feel like it would make sense. And I was really upset because I really thought I was gonna like this, because I originally picked it up because I saw Leonie from the book Leo recommend it, and I usually have the same taste in books as her, but I don't know, I just didn't like this. To be fair to this book though, I also didn't like Lord of the Flies, so it could just be my taste and personal preferences that are preventing me from truly enjoying this book. So I wouldn't say avoid it totally, but like, this is like definitely not for me. And the last book that I read during Pride Month was The Burning Maze from the Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan. So I don't want to really say the synopsis of this book because I'm worried I don't want to spoil like the first 2, but the synopsis for like the whole series essentially is that after the events of the Heroes of Olympus series, Zeus basically casts Apollo down to Earth to be human, and he has to go through these trials to basically become a god again. And honestly, I'm just having like so much fun with this series. We all know by now, I love Rick Riordan. He's never gonna do me wrong. I don't care if the book sucks. It's still gonna be good, you know? And I'm just like really excited to continue the series. I'm really hoping to finish the next 2 this month. We'll see. I don't know. My favorite thing about this one in the series was finally having Grover back, because like, where has he been? You know? Where has he been, Rick? Please. And I really have been loving all the character cameos in the series. It's just like so much fun. However, I will say, I don't know what it is about Rick and writing traumatic third installments in his like longer series, but it's gotta stop. It's gotta stop. I will just say, if you know, you know. I cried a lot. I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't think it was gonna happen here. I don't know what it is with Rick and the third installment in the series, but he's got to pay for his crimes sooner or later. This was also a 5-star, despite being traumatized yet again by a third installment in a Rick Riordan series. Yeah, so good though. Still love it. So those were all of the queer books that I read during Pride Month. I did intend on finishing 2 other books, but I am currently reading them. I just didn't get to finish them during June. But those are The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde and On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. So hopefully I'll finish those soon, but I didn't get to them. It's okay. So let me know what you all read during Pride Month. I would love to hear. And also maybe add some books to my everlasting TBR. Who knows? So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget to take care of yourselves today. Bye!